Guys sharing their faith, sharing their stories. Big thanks to Tori, Graham, and Jay Stu. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, and as a Lions fan, I know a lot about disappointment. So I love how they talk about how their faith in God helped them navigate that disappointment in life. And Dave, who among us doesn't experience disappointment throughout life? So that's exactly what the preacher is going to be talking about during today's service, is how they can help us navigate that disappointment that we are undoubtedly going to face in life.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get some encouragement on that. Yeah, being a Lions fan, man, I thought you could fill in for
I
Crockett.
could probably sit up there and
You could have got, you were a master of disappointment. Awesome, guys. Hey, well, without further ado, guys, I want to show one more video, because if you're not, listen, if you're... All right, fans, the moment is here. Get on your feet, get loud, get rowdy. It's time to introduce our team for Super Bowl preaching. All right, get on your feet, make some noise, and here come the challenger, Emilees and Crockett.
Who's excited? Awesome! Now, as you know, we have Emily and Crockett facing off against our returning champions, Chris and Ridge. Now, each pastor will be able to preach for one 8-minute quarter, and to get a touchdown, they have to have it be biblically sound as well as engaging in their mini sermon. Now, after each touchdown, they will have an opportunity to go for an extra point, which is actually going to require some crowd participation. So you guys get ready for that, and I'll go more into that once we get that first touchdown. And backstage, before you guys got here, we did our coin toss, which has Emily kicking us off in the first quarter and Chris in the second. So, Emily, if you're ready, on my whistle.
Well, I'm ready. Y'all ready to kick off this first quarter? Today, I gotta ask though, how many true Kansas City Chiefs fans do we have in the room? Okay, we got some. Hey, the crowd is spoken. All right, how many Philadelphia Eagle fans do we have in the room? Representing. Okay, how many honorary Eagle fans to cheer against the Chiefs tonight? There it is. There it is. That's gonna be me and my family. Eagles, y'all have had a good season. Come on, we gotta pull it out. I'm actually going to talk about another Eagles season. It's a story of redemption through disappointment. But before we do that, we got to talk about the career of Nick Foles. Nick Foles is a great guy. He's a very outspoken believer. He was drafted into the NFL in 2012, and he was on fire by 2013. But just as quickly as the success came, it went. He was plagued by injuries and inconsistent play. He was traded to a couple different teams, the Rams, yes, the Kansas City Chiefs. By 2016, he hit rock bottom. He was pretty much irrelevant and was considering retiring from the NFL. But because he's a believer, he decided it was best to go to prayer and decide on this decision, and he decided to stay in the NFL, which eventually led him back to the Eagles, but not as the quarterback, as the backup to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was drafted in 2016 and was amazing in his first season, taking the Eagles in an incredible season of 11-2 when disaster struck, and he tore his ACL. If you're an Eagles fan, you probably remember this really well because it felt like Super Bowl dreams were crushed. So now they're bringing Nick Foles in to take the reins. Unfortunately, Nick Foles is not greeted with a warm welcome. No one felt like he was going to be able to do it. I cannot imagine the crushing pressure he must have felt. But Nick was very outspoken about where his identity lay, and it wasn't in football. It was in his relationship with Jesus. And because of that relationship with Jesus, he says he was able to stay focused on what really mattered, and it relieved that pressure, and he was able to actually take the Eagles all the way to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and he was named MVP that year. Isn't that awesome? So cool. At the end of that game, he said something that I just think is really amazing. He said, you know what? Failure is a part of life. It's a part of building character and growing. Without failure, who would you be? I think we've probably all experienced failure in this room, and we can ask ourselves, who would we be without that failures? Where would we be without those disappointments and those setbacks? You know, Foles' story reminds us that setbacks don't define us. They prepare us for what's next. And Foles was able to reframe all of those disappointments for what God had for him next. You know, no one prepares for disappointment. It comes out of nowhere, like a torn ACL or a lost job or a shattered dream. And maybe you're here today and you're experiencing disappointment, and it feels far deeper than winning or losing a game. And maybe you're asking yourself, like, where do I go from here? Well, today we're going to talk about a guy that knew this feeling all too well, the Apostle Paul. He faced fear and danger. He was beaten. He was shipwrecked. We're all going to each talk about in our quarters the book of Philippians. He wrote that book from prison. Instead of focusing on his lack of freedom or his discomfort, he focuses on furthering the gospel. Here's what he says in Philippians 1:12. Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. What has happened to me, meaning the fact that I'm in prison. Not only did he take the opportunity to share Jesus with the people around him, including the Roman guard that was guarding him, but he wrote 4 books of the New Testament. How do we live like that? How do we take our disappointments and our setbacks and turn them into that? Well, I want to talk to you about 3 quick ways disappointment can teach you if you let it. The first one is this: disappointment reveals your foundation. Disappointment reveals your foundation. When life doesn't go as planned, it reveals where your hope truly lies. Like, I think about the times in my life when I've experienced disappointment and how shaky it has felt. Like, where do you put your trust? You know, misplaced trust often leads to misplaced expectations and even greater disappointment. But when our foundation is solid, when disappointment comes, we are unshakable. What it really does is it shows us where our strength really comes from. The second one, disappointment builds resilience. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this one because it has to do with pain. And unfortunately, pain teaches us what comfort never could. When I think about the times that I've experienced some pain in my life and how God has worked through me, I'm able to look at those seasons and realize that I was stronger than I ever thought I could be. And Paul, he is suffering, but yet he is strong because of Jesus, and his courage inspires the people around him. In verse 14, he writes, "And because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear." Pain shows us what's possible. Disappointment can redirect you. Sometimes God uses disappointment to guide us towards something greater. You know, Paul's imprisonment, it could have been the end for him. He could have just been like, you know what, this is it, I'm done. I mean, prison often is the end. But instead, he writes this book that has shaped the church for generations. So I just want you to think about the disappointment that you might be facing today. What does it say about your foundation? Are you feeling shaky? Where is your trust really? And if you're experiencing pain, how are you letting God use that pain to grow you and to make you stronger? And maybe, just maybe, God is trying to direct you, send you in a new direction. You know, you can't always control what happens to you in life, but you can control how you respond. I love that Nick Foles' Super Bowl win wasn't just about football. It never was for him. It was about trusting God. Trusting God through all of the disappointments and the setbacks, and believing that God had something greater for him in his life. And Paul, his chains, it didn't stop the gospel. It advanced them further and faster. So today, your disappointment, it might feel like the end. But in the hands of God, it's the beginning of something great. Amen. Trust God. Ask him to teach you. And remember, when life doesn't go as planned, he is always working. That's my quarter.
All right. That's a touchdown for Emily. Well done.
That's my teammate right there. Come on.
Okay, now we are ready for our extra point opportunity, which is where we're going to end up picking a volunteer in just a moment. Now, you will have the wonderful opportunity to kick a giant football through our goalposts right here. So, just from that line, who wants to help Emily and Crockett here? Anyone?
Volunteers, let's see.
We need someone to
Let's
get
go.
it.
Right here?
Yeah, go for it. I think you can do it. I think you can do it.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, come on up. There you go. There you go. What's your name?
Going a long way.
What is it? Give it up for my man right here. We're going to do it. Let's
Come
go.
on, buddy.
Are you taking samples off this week?
Here we go. Right down here.
Here we go.
Don't
All right,
get
you gotta
nervous.
kick
Emily's
down
gonna
here.
hold it.
Right foot or left foot? You're going that way.
Yeah, don't get
Come down here
nervous.
behind
Don't
this
think
line,
about
right here.
it.
Oh, should we take your sandals off? When they go
Yeah.
flying?
I mean, you're on the internet right
He's got
now.
sandals.
There's
He's
probably
gonna
a
get
million
two
people.
chances.
He feels confident. He feels confident in the sandals.
There's only probably a million
Alright.
people on the internet watching
Alright.
right now. So
Chris,
don't be
back away
nervous.
from him. Back away from him.
Get out of here.
Here we go. You got it.
You got it. You got it.
Kick the sandals off.
Oh, okay. Got it.
That's the
All
thing.
right, one more time, one more
Don't
time.
thought you got to change
It's all leg.
anything.
It's all leg. Don't listen to
Kick
him.
harder. Kick harder. You didn't
Here we
kick harder
go.
enough.
There you go. Line it up. Oh, that's it?
That,
That's all right. That's all right.
that was a gusty win.
Give it up for my man. Give it up for him.
All right, so after our first quarter, we have 6 points for Emily and Crockett, and I think Chris is about to kick off our second quarter. So